I mean, it's literally a verse.
So we're just learning about the life of Trevor and his
Just like you.
walk.
Just like
Okay.
you.
Right.
Jesus wept. Welcome to the 17:6 podcast.
All right. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. Welcome to the 17:6 podcast, where we help you turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ. I'm Trevor with an O.
Caleb with a C.
Zach with an H.
Awesome. Not a G.
We're
Not a
getting,
G.
I think we're getting a lot better at that.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Hey, real quickly, can we call out the fact that we have coasters now?
We
We're
do
not-
have,
We're not
yeah.
putting our coffee on books anymore because
That's right.
Caleb's wife was very distressed about that.
How about we just say we got a lot of negative feedback?
Yeah. From book lovers.
Percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise.
Feedback.
Yeah.
If you said a lot, talking like 10%, 20%.
Of the audience?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Okay.
I know of only 2 people.
2 people? That's well, that'd be less than 10%, right?
Was that your mom that was?
be
Because I
one-
mean, I know my mom
1%.
watches it. I know your mom probably watches it. And did your mom watch it?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, there's at least 3 people. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about me, and that's really weird to start us off with.
Yeah.
It's fantastic that you have to do the intro, and we're talking about you today.
Yeah. Well, here we go.
So, Trevor.
So we've learned about Caleb with a C.
Yeah.
We've learned about his walk with Christ and what God is doing in his life and did in his life. And so we're just going to go down the list. After me, Zach will be the one up in the hot seat in the middle. I feel like I'm giving like an after game synopsis or something. You know, like I'm a coach and I'm like, oh, yeah, we moved the ball down the field. We made more points than the other team. Yeah.
Sports.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know really how this is going to go. Somebody's just going to ask me questions.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to talk about my life,
We're just
which
gonna-
is very humble. Very humble.
We're just going to rapid fire from both directions.
Perfect.
Let's see how fast you can answer these.
Right.
So, Trevor,
Yeah. 23.
23. That's your age or?
No.
Oh, it's take it back where, back where it all started. Where's Trevor from?
Well, it was a dark night, November 19th. It was storming outside. A lot of pushing, I hear. And November 20th, I arrived. So I'm a November baby.
November?
I grew up in Miami, Oklahoma, northeastern part of Oklahoma. I've lived there my whole life. My mom and my dad, they're divorced. So I lived with my mom, and she brought me to church every Sunday. And that was the foundation. She laid a fantastic foundation in my life to build upon. And now I hope she's able to see what that foundation she laid is doing, because we're doing things that we didn't do in the house that I grew up in, but that's okay because there's a foundation laid. And I think that's this generational view that we should all be having with our family, laying a foundation, building on something, and expecting and wanting our kids to go further than that. So yeah, I grew up in church, Southern Baptist Church, Miami, Oklahoma. Shout out. I graduated actually from Wyandotte, so shout out to Wyandotte. And I moved to Monette. We're going really fast, but you can get into specifics. This is a broad overview of my life. I moved to Monette like 9.5 years ago, worked here for 9.5 years, and then I was able to step away from that 9-to-5 job and start Commerce Web Design, which has been fantastic. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in between there. So ask away. That's where I was from. Yeah, I don't know.
So, you were raised in church.
Yep.
How old were you when you were baptized, and when did you accept?
When did God reveal to me that He saved me?
Yeah.
Boy, I feel like I was super young. 3, 4. I remember the exact moment. So my brother and I, had to been 4. My brother and I, we had these twin size beds. I remember the blanket that I had on it. It was this brown tan blanket, this bear blanket that I think one of my grandma's friends made. I just remember like, man, I need to, and this was the language that I grew up with, and this is nothing wrong with this language. I need to ask Jesus into my heart. I remember kneeling beside my bed and saying, Jesus, come into my heart, and then telling my mom about it. This was super young. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I was like 4. I know it was before
crazy.
kindergarten. Yeah. I don't know how, I mean, I remember it. So there's something there. Baptized though, I was baptized when I was 12. So I don't remember a big emphasis. I don't want to seem like I'm throwing my parents under the bus. I'm not. I just don't remember a big emphasis on baptism growing up. And then when I got to age 12, I just had this urge that I needed to be baptized. So that's when I was baptized, age 12, in the church that I grew up in. Yeah.
What kind of church was it?
It was a Southern Baptist church. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was small. So max 40 people.
Really?
Yeah, really small.
Wow. So the church you're in now is
It's the biggest church I've ever gone to. Yeah.
and we're like 100 people.
We're 100. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. So tell us about the experience difference between you grew up going to a church that was max 40 people and now you are in a church that's 100 people.
Yes. So when I started going to, can we say the name of the church that we go to? I don't know. We can bleep it out. I'm going to go ahead and name drop that church, and we can always bleep it out in post because we'll get the blessing of our pastors.
Right.
Okay. So when I started going to the gathering, there was only 40 people though. So so it's really not been that big of a change. So my wife and I showed up at the gathering like 5 years ago, maybe a little over 5 years ago. And yeah, 40 people. And we've just been a part of this growth, this massive growth of the gathering. So I have no idea the difference is. I just know that I have been used to it because I was a part of the growth.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. Rapid fire. I told you.
Yeah.
So you're baptized
Baptized. I'm in the water, out of the water.
out of the water.
Died
Trevor
with
comes
Christ.
up out of the
Died with Christ. Rose again.
Rose
you know.
again, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
baby.
You come up out of the water.
Wearing my Dan Marino Dolphins jersey.
Were you really baptized in a Dan Marino Dolphins?
Sure
jersey?
was. I don't even like football.
You have pictures?
Oh yeah, I'm sure my mom has them.
All right, get them to Amos,
Mom,
and we'll.
info at the 176podcast.com. Send those pictures.
Yeah. When would you say so? Like I talked about, actually taking my faith seriously.
Oh, taking my faith seriously. I think that I had moments of taking it seriously, maybe in high school, moments, brief moments. I remember, not that I, let me think. Let me think about this before I answer. So always in church, I didn't know anything different. And in high school, when I moved to Wyandotte High School, yeah, there were definitely moments where I knew there was a greater urge in my heart and a pull from the Lord than like previous years. But I didn't know really how to satisfy that. So I did the one thing that I knew what to do is just pray about it. And there were moments where I looked around me and I'm just like, man, and I didn't know the language. I just need somebody intelligent to tell me that they believe in Jesus, because I just felt like I kept seeing all these smart people around me telling me that like Jesus didn't exist, that God was fictitious. There's no way that this could exist. I'm like, I just need somebody with an argument. And so I remember praying that. And maybe the next week or so, I was in Algebra 3. That was the highest math at my high school, by the way. Yeah.
How big was your high school?
We had 34 people.
34
in my graduating class.
So you had less people in your graduating class than in your church.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember Algebra 3, and I mean, he probably wouldn't remember this. My math teacher, I'm going to name drop him because I doubt he's ever going to watch this. Mr. Minson said something to the effect that he was a Christian. And then at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So somebody that I look up to in school that is, I mean, he wasn't really a mentor, but he definitely helped me realize my love for math. So I ended up with a math degree from a college locally here. And I heard him say that, and I'm like, God, just answer my prayers. This is awesome. But again, I didn't have the language. I didn't know how to go deeper. So I just kept praying. I slid a little bit in college. I didn't have a good foundation there. I needed a mentor. I needed someone. This is a theme in my life. My parents did a fantastic job keeping me in church, but I also needed someone to come along beside me and disciple me. That is huge. I think that is a theme maybe in, I don't know, our generation. I guess we're all the same age. What year is it? Is it 2024? So I'm 33. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so for our listeners, can you kind of flesh that out a little bit? So there's a difference between just going to church and actually being discipled by somebody. Can we talk about being discipled by somebody?
I needed someone to sit down with me on a regular basis and challenge me on why I did certain things in my life. I needed someone to tell me about the lordship of Christ and to tell me why that is the most amazing thing to come to realize. I believed in Jesus. I never denounced Jesus, but I needed someone to challenge me and to push me. I needed not to look at the world and see the world as shiny and good and wanted to be a part of the world. I needed to step back and look at the world and see Christ in his glory. And I needed to know I needed that more than the world. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean by discipling. Meeting on a weekly basis, possibly weekly basis. This is just my idea of it. Reading through scripture, going verse by verse, talking about what challenges I had. Again, my parents did a good job, not throwing them on the bus. They did a fan, but I just needed somebody else in my life, a mature Christian, to come along beside me and help me out.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge need. I know for years I wanted to be discipled, and I think a lot of this comes from kind of like an anti-authority perspective. But a lot of people are afraid to have the idea that we are discipling someone else, because for a lot of people, they think it's like, oh, I'm saying I'm better than you, that's why I'm able to disciple you in something. And so people who are qualified to disciple a younger person may be hesitant to do that because they don't want to have that
responsibility. Even
maybe it's the responsibility. Maybe it's just that I don't want to imply that I'm better than you and that's why I'm discipling you. But I would just want to encourage people. There are so many people out there who want desperately to be discipled. We recognize that there are people who are following the Lord with more experience than we have. They understand the Lord better than we do. They are more faithful than we are. And we want to benefit from hearing what advice they have. We want to hear their perspectives on what we're doing and that kind of thing.
So how should we go about seeking out? Should we seek out people to disciple us better, or should we seek out people to disciple better?
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
Both.
Yeah.
Because it's not just one person that can disciple you, right?
Right. Yeah.
It could be multiple people. For you, it was that, your math teacher, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He didn't really disciple me, but just somebody, just an answer to a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had many people throughout your life disciple you.
No, I've had one person disciple me.
One person. Okay.
Shout out, Pastor Justin.
Pastor Justin.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's a passage that came to my mind. I'm sorry. It's the one in Titus about older women I think it's in Titus. Yeah, they train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. And I know that specifically with older women, younger women, but we just see so many passages like this one that's talking about those who are more experienced. Like they should feel a responsibility. They should feel a burden to find a younger person and start training them, start discipling them, go to the word with them, and start teaching them how to live life better.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So you should start discipling somebody.
Yeah.
Or find someone to disciple you. That is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me think. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I don't know where I was.
Okay. So,
I mean, I know where I'm at. I'm at Converse Web Design.
yeah. So you have, I guess, education after high school, and
Yeah.
and I guess I'm going to go more specific on this. You have a higher education, I guess. if you call it. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure. I have a piece of paper that said I graduated
There you go.
high school, and a piece of paper that said I graduated a university.
okay, but you are very, I guess, theologically advanced.
I don't know about that.
Well, to me,
Okay.
you are. You both of you guys are. Take it as a compliment because that it
Okay.
is. It's not a slight by any means. But so you have no, I guess, Bible college education.
No.
What drove you to, gain more knowledge and more,
man.
that higher?
I think the gateway drug to reformed theology,
Yeah,
John Piper.
John Piper.
So I was sitting at my job, my 9-to-5 job years ago, and I didn't have anything going on. I don't know if I had to like stay late or something, but I was just waiting on something. So I was reading some articles on a Feedly account. I don't know if you know what Feedly is, but it's like Facebook without the social media aspect of it. And an article popped up from this website called Desiring God. I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard of this. I don't know if it's good. I don't know who this John Piper guy is. Like, interesting title. It had something to do with the sovereignty of God and joy. That's just his shtick. So I read it and I was amazed. I was hooked. Like, who? This God I serve, this is sovereign. What is this? Mm-hmm. And then at that point, I was hooked. I couldn't get enough of it. I guess even before. So what led up even to that? Like, why was I reading Christian articles? That's maybe a better question.
Yeah.
Is that the church that I started attending when I moved to Monette? The pastor there was exactly what I needed and exactly what my wife needed at that time. So we were both graduating college. We needed someone who was more of a professor, and that's what he was at a local Bible college here. And the way that he preached and the way that he taught, like, spoke to us, and we just, I guess that was the start of it. So John Piper was the start of my Reformed theology rabbit hole. My pastor at the church that I started going to when I moved to Monette, that is what the Lord used to really ignite that fire. And I grew a ton. So he went over concepts like, how did we get the Bible in our Sunday school stuff? And he preached in a way that I've never seen anybody preach, just because I didn't know that kind of preaching existed. Mm-hmm. Like, he exegeted the text. We did topical sermons, but he went line by line in his topic, and he used scripture in his sermon, not like talked about a topic overview and used 2 verses of the Bible and then closed his Bible. Like, Bible is open the whole time. Like, right. And then he ended up teaching through the Gospel of Mark. And on Wednesday nights, he would go through like the book of Deuteronomy. So on Wednesday nights, we would get line by line, verse by verse, and that was fantastic. So that is what really that's what the Lord used to just set my heart afire for him, is Jeff Robertson. Shout out. I don't know if he'll watch this or not, but he's back in the States. He was actually in the Caribbean. He was a missionary, and he started a Bible school, a Bible college there. Mm-hmm. And so I think he's back in the States now. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. So there was that piece. Also, I watched the Lord save my wife. So my wife and I, we met each other in college, and she was not a Christian. And we just started, she went to church with me once I moved to Monette, and she would join me for church, which was she would say that was a big step for her. And over time, I think this is also very pivotal just understanding of, she can't name a place in her before she was a Christian where she's like, this was the date I was saved. Mm-hmm. It was I'm going to use maybe analogy. She was on a train and she was going from, Missouri to Arkansas, and she didn't know where the border of Arkansas was, or, she didn't know when she crossed that border, but it was a long ride. So yeah, that was amazing to see. That ignited my heart. So mm-hmm. I am getting more theologically depth. I'm watching the Lord save people around me. And that is what's motivated me to know more about our God, to know more about Christ, and just to go deep.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's he's just drawing you to himself, and you're kind of just getting swept up in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
go ahead.
No,
Are you
no.
gonna say something?
Sure. More pivotal moments in my life
Yeah.
to just solidify what the Lord is doing and just to, I don't know, just to draw me closer is I not only watched my wife get saved, the Lord save her. I watched the Lord save her mom. I watched the Lord save her little brother. I watched the Lord save her grandma. I watched the Lord save her dad. Like, this is insane. And then in the meantime, I'm praying for my grandpa in all of this. This was very recent. I didn't know where my grandpa was. I remember when I was maybe like 6 or 7, we were riding around together, and I asked him if he was saved, and he answered the question like, oh yeah. I'm like, okay, but it's just been bugging me literally ever since then, and I just been praying about it. And he came up to me. I don't know. It was just on a weekend. I was visiting my dad and my grandpa, and he's like, "Hey, I got a question for you." And there was conversations before this, but I'm trying to shorten this down. He's like, "I need you to baptize me." I'm like, "What? Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I need to be baptized." And this was right after a conversation that I went to his house one Friday evening. I brought some pizza and we drank some beers together and ate pizza. And I asked him a lot of questions and about his walk with Christianity. Oh yes, Christians can drink responsibly. So we had a really good conversation about Christ, his view, what he was brought up. And so anyway, a few weeks later, he asked me to baptize him. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And he's like, let's wait for the summer when it warms up, and then you baptize me in my pool. He has a really big pool in his backyard. And I'm like, okay. So summer rolls around, still praying about it. I'm like, I don't know if I should bring this up. And he approaches me again, and he's like, hey, let's do this. I need to be baptized. I'm like, fantastic. So I baptized my grandpa. I mean, that was
So awesome.
That was amazing. So every time I've prayed for, it seems not every time, but majority of times that I pray for people's salvation, I've been able to see the Lord save them. I'm not saying I'm doing anything, but I'm just like, it's just amazing. It's amazing. Even our producer, I watched the Lord save him. It was fantastic.
It's awesome.
It was fantastic.
It's good.
So, you and your wife met in college?
Yeah, we met in college. A mutual friend set us up on a date. So it was, I mean, I knew who she was. We were in abstract algebra together. It was pretty abstract.
It's a awesome,
Yeah.
subject.
It's
Do
something.
you still use that? Abstract algebra?
Abstractly, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we met through a mutual friend. Well, we knew each other from a class. I maybe said hi to her one time. We were set up by a mutual friend. We went out. We had Thai food, and I made a joke, and she laughed at it. Something about, I don't know what to do with my hands. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm gonna marry this girl.
From that moment, first date,
First date.
you made her laugh
Well, I made her laugh with one of my jokes.
with one of your jokes. Okay.
Yeah. So I knew from our first date that we were gonna get married.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if she would say the same thing. Maybe she would. Maybe she wouldn't. I don't know.
I have to ask her.
I don't
when
want
you
to
get
put
home.
that.
What was?
I don't want to put that burden on her.
No.
Yeah.
So, you get married, kids,
Married. We do have kids. We have 3 right now.
3 kids.
Yeah. It's our oldest is right now. It is 2024. Our oldest is, well, he's going to tell you he's 4.5, but he's 4. Middle child, he is 3, and our youngest is 1.
That's awesome.
1. I don't know if you'd hear that. Yeah. So 2 boys and a girl. Our daughter is our youngest.
So your house is filled with joyous noises and
A lot of poop jokes.
a lot of poop jokes.
Yeah. A lot of poop in general.
Yeah.
Just so much.
Yeah.
So much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a dad and with the 3 little kids, tell us what it looks like. So you were raised up in church. What does it look like for you? How are you raising your kids in the faith?
So going back to what I first said about my mom and my stepdad and my parents laying a good foundation for me, doing all that they knew that they could do. I am doing the same thing. I'm laying a foundation to my kids. So the Lord has allowed us to take this further. So we go to church on Sundays. We gather with our church family. We worship. The significant thing is that we, and Caleb does this as well, and so do you, we do something in the evening called family worship. And that may be confusing, but what we do is we read, we have a kid's Bible. We read a story out of that every night. After that, we go through a creed, the Apostles' Creed specifically. Actually, my wife and I, we've put some music to it. So we sing the Apostles' Creed, which is really cool, and it helps them remember.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've heard a
maybe we'll release it one
sneak
day.
peek, and it is fantastic.
Maybe we'll release it on our kids' album. Then we go through the Lord's Prayer. Then we ask them, what are we supposed to think about when we take the Lord's Supper at church? Because I want them to, one, realize what's going on at church when we do communion, when we take the Lord's Supper. And then there's some other questions involved. We ask what a sin is and why should we obey God? Like that's catechizing, that's questions and answers. That's getting this worldview established that they live in every day. So we do that. We sing Psalm 23, Lord is my shepherd. We sing that. Then after that, we talk about how Jesus has blessed us today. And I think that's pivotal in our family, realizing that the insignificant things are actually blessings from God. So my wife made cookies. That's a blessing from God. Like, let's talk about that. How did Jesus bless you today? And my middle child, Owen, he always says, I got to go outside and play. And like, yeah, what a blessing. Like, he can go outside and play. That's amazing. Then to wrap it all up, this is about maybe 15 minutes. To wrap it all up, we wrap it up with the doxology. So then we sing again, and well, let's not wrap it up. We pray together, and then I have a blessing that I bless my kids with. So I have a blessing for my two sons, and then I have a blessing for my daughter that's different.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Explain that to me.
Yeah. So the blessing is, may the Lord keep you or protect you and keep you for this, for my boys, and may he make you mighty men that slay giants and dragons and things through Jesus Christ. So that's my blessing for my boys, because I want them to grow up to be courageous, strong men to slay sin and dragon only through the power of Christ, though. They can't do it on their own. And for my wife, or for my daughter, it's different. So may the Lord bless you and keep you and make you a wise and beautiful woman, and may your children and grandchildren rise up and call you blessed. So those are the two blessings that I didn't come up with those. I got those from Toby Sumter. I think that's in his book, No Mere Mortals. And I just really liked it, and I'm like, I'm taking it. So
Okay.
yeah.
That is good. My kids don't have the luxury of having different gender specific benedictions. They just kind of get the one out of number 6.
It's still good. It's still good. Yeah. So that is how I am laying a foundation for future generations. I have this great desire to sing with my family, though I'm not a great singer, but I do play guitar. I do like playing it. It's not like I'm like super good. It's just a hobby. I guess it's a hobby, whatever. But I have this great desire, and I think Joel Beakey maybe said this, and you told me about this, and I'm like, I want that too, to one day gather my children and my grandchildren, and maybe we're together for Christmas, and we just sing. We just sing psalms, and we sing to glorify God. And that, oh man, it gives me chills thinking about that. So that's my goal. I want to sing.
I pulled that out of a post that he made on Facebook.
Perfect.
Just kind of like hey, my family got together and this is what we did. And I was just so inspired by that.
Yeah, it is inspiring.
I know a lot of people overrate Facebook and, post all kinds of silly things on there, but some of those things can make a pretty big difference. I mean, Joel Beakey has no idea who we are, but he's influenced us in ways that he'll never know.
Absolutely. Family worship didn't come overnight, though. Like that's something that I've been working on. Boy, we've tried a bunch of stuff that just didn't work. So if you are trying family worship, don't be scared to fail at it. That's what I'm trying to say.
So I have a question about your family worship.
Yeah.
15 minutes. You have 3 very young kids.
Yeah.
How
we jump around a lot.
How are you able to like
a lot of
keep
nights
them from being distracted and like while you're doing family worship? Is that part of it?
Yeah, distraction's part of it. Boy,
This is
I
part
can't
of
solve it. I can't solve it.
Yeah.
There's nights where I'm super frustrated
Yeah.
and I fail miserably because I get mad because they're not listening. But I just have to go with the flow.
Yeah.
They got the wiggles, man. Just let them.
So it's not you need to sit here. I'm trying to lay this foundation.
Yeah, I try, but I think just lately, the last month, I think my wife and I just roll with it.
Yeah.
If they're crazy, maybe we'll stop in the middle of family worship, do a little dance party, play a little different song,
yeah.
and then go back to it.
Yeah.
We've been doing that before we start family worship. We play, I forgot which song it was. One of the corner rooms psalms. It's really upbeat. They have like a kids album.
Oh, nice.
And we play one of those, and the kids all dance around the living room, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Burn off some of that energy, and then we sit down.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also
Dance parties are a thing.
we also face the distraction menace though.
Yeah, it's hard. But I think now we're getting to the more nights are easier than more difficult.
Yeah.
That just took time.
They're kind of getting used
They're
to
understanding it,
the
yeah.
tradition or the.
Yeah. Yeah. Tradition's a good word. That's not a bad word. The thing that my wife and I worry about is like, we don't want them to dread it. We don't want them
Absolutely,
to be like, I don't know how to do that. Just, yeah.
Try to make it fun and light. And,
Yeah. Don't beat them on a nightly basis. That's kind of been my motto.
Yeah, and if you're excited for it, that's going to rub off on them.
Exactly.
If you're starting to dread it, then they're going to dread it.
Yeah.
But
Fantastic point.
I think I tell my kids all the time, like, I'm so excited. Like, my kids ask me, what's your favorite thing to do? I'm like, family worship with you guys. Like, that is just a really, really fun task to do.
Yeah.
And they look forward to it now.
Yeah.
So now you got 3 kids.
3.
You've got,
There's
A business.
There's a business. Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about your business.
Okay.
So what drove you to want to start your own business?
Few things. My dad's an entrepreneur. My grandpa's an entrepreneur. My great grandpa's an entrepreneur. As far as I can tell, the converse line is a bunch of businessmen. So I think the Lord has made that a part of my DNA. Mm-hmm. So there's that aspect. So my dad owned, I say owned because he sold it a few months ago. He owned a military surplus store, paintball store. He had great success in that. He actually had the world's largest paintball event at one point. So I grew up around, oh gosh, was it that scandalous?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So
We'll get to the scandalous stuff later.
Right on. So I grew up around that type of business. I grew up around, my dad always included me as much as he could in his business dealings. So if that just meant me sitting in a corner listening, like he always made sure at the age of 13 or 14, he said, hey, you should sell ice at our big paintball event. And he's like, this is your business. You got to figure out, I'm pretty sure it was, we'll just say 14 because I don't want to oversell this. So 14, he's like, you got to figure out where you're going to buy your ice from. You got to figure out what your profit margins are. And you got to figure out how you're going to deliver your ice to our campground. So the campground's pretty big. We had thousands of people, not exaggerating. I think like at one time, we'll just say 5,000 people camping at one time. So I think each person we figured out like 2.5 people. I don't know how you bring half a person, but that's just the way it worked out. So anyway, yeah, exactly. So that was my first introduction to business. Here's a business plan for you, son. Go forth and make it happen. So I found some ice, rented a trailer, like a big, like semi-trailer. Yeah, man, it was crazy. So that was my first taste of entrepreneurship. And then I worked with my dad for a while. I just didn't feel like that's where the Lord was leading me. I didn't have those words at the time, but I wanted to go get a cool corporate job and work for a Fortune 500 company because I wanted to program. So that's what happened. That's what moved me to Monette. And I did that for 9.5 years, but the whole time I was itching to do something else. Our producer and I did a few things, and that still didn't satisfy the itch of entrepreneurship. But I always was worried about not being content with what God gave me. So my prayer was, Lord, I want to do something else, but also I'm very thankful for the job you gave me. And I want to be content. I want to be content where you put me. So that was the prayer. It felt like 9.5 years. The Lord was building me up in those 9.5 years to do something that I was good at. He showed me that I was good at programming. He blessed me tremendously in that field. And the position that I had at that company before I left I would never imagine myself ever getting there. So yeah, the Lord just made it obvious that I needed to step away. I had a 5-year plan. I'm like, this is great. 5-year plan. I'm open for business. I'm doing this as a side job. And 6 months into it, I pretty much had to make a choice. Do I keep working on my job and quit my side project of Converse web design, or do I quit my full-time job and make my side job a full-time job? And that's what I did. I mean, that was the ultimatum. So my 5-year plan turned into, I mean, I guess a six-month plan. That was not by my doing. So that's the story of Converse web design.
So really quick, I
Yeah.
want to touch on one more
Yeah,
thing. How is your business glorifying God?
The way that I do business is to be a righteous business. So I'm using this, I guess people could consider this as a ministry. I'm meeting a lot of business owners, and I am praying that the Lord opens the door for me to be able to share the gospel with them if they don't know the Lord, or if we can encourage each other and build something greater and bigger in Monette. And that's it. Like, this whole thing is the Lord's. I'm sure there are days that I'm worried about if I'm going to make enough money for my family, but that's just sin. That's me not having faith in the God who has saved me. I've seen him do miraculous things in my life. Why don't I trust him? So I just give it all to the Lord. This whole thing is, that's how I'm using it to glorify God. That's how I'm hoping that Converse web design is turning the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ, because Christ is the Lord of this business. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on? We're good?
I mean, I'm good. You guys are the questionnaires.
That's true. We are the questionnaires.
Is that it?
No, we're on a schedule.
We are on a schedule because I have a call in, I guess, 20 minutes. That's
20
what it
minutes
says right there. Well, I'm sorry to cut this short. So, I mean, we can do, if you got any questions, send them to info@the176podcast.com. We can always do follow-up episodes and answer questions there.
There might be somebody out there who's like, I need to learn more about that Trevor guy.
Yeah, maybe.
You need a part 2.
Maybe.
Right.
We'll see.
So
We can do a part 2, part 3.
part 3.
4, 5,
Yeah.
one could even say
7's a good complete number.
8. Okay.
8 is
That's a very real timeline. I can see that.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining us for this episode on the 17th. Where am I looking at?
Middle
right
camera.
there.
Yep.
Right. No, he switched.
Oh, now it's this one.
That one. Okay. Thanks for joining us for the 17:6 podcast, where we help you turn the world upside down by the Lordship of Christ. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button. Like us on Facebook. Make sure you comment down below, because that helps the algorithm, or like the channel. I'm saying all the things. Just
all the things.
We hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next Monday.
Praise God.